Welcome back to the show. Our next guest is a very successful actress, producer, director, and author as well.
And you hear the question time and time again, especially in a city like Vancouver, I want to get into acting, but how do I do it? Well, guess what? There's a book that answers all those questions. It's called Act, a Step-by-Step Guide to Starting Your Acting Career, and Ingrid Torrance is joining us now. How are you?
Hi, Ingrid.
Hello, again.
Now, how many times had you been asked the questions that are answered in this book?
And enough that I got tired to write it.
Yeah, save the voice, write the book.
Yeah, so now I can just hand it to people.
Okay, so once people make the decision, I want to get into acting, what is the first step?
Well, I think you have two groups of people that I directed this to. You've got the people that went, okay, I'm going to get into acting class, but now I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's that. And then there's the people that don't know what that first step is, and that's what this discusses.
Right.
So obviously, I think the first thing to do is get into an acting class, but then it's figure out what kind of class is right for you.
Right.
And that, you have to do a little legwork. You have to do a little kind of thinking about what kind of.
Well, wait a second. People
do.
have to put some work in?
Sorry,
well, that's
no. Shoot. Yes.
Well, I guess that's the first myth that people need to understand, that there is a lot of work, and
Absolutely.
yes, acting classes at the beginning, but some of the best actors, working actors in the world, still take classes.
Absolutely.
Because it's like exercising the muscle, I guess.
So how do you choose, I mean, when you're looking at an acting class, should you be looking at the coach? Should you be looking at a style? Or
I think first you have to figure out what it is you want to do.
Right.
I don't do theater. Scares me to death. You know, I do television and film. That's what I do, and I think that for me to take a theater class would be arbitrary.
Yeah.
So I think you have to figure out, and even if you don't know, then fine, then just take a class and get your feet wet.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I think
So
from there you'll
there
you'll figure out what it is you want to do and where do you want to go. But audit, that's my big word.
Now,
in there.
auditing is a word people hear,
class.
but what does it actually mean?
It means find your classes and go and sit in one. You know, I don't know any class that you can't audit.
And auditing means you can sit in, you don't have to pay or join or sign up. You can just sit and see if they're right for you.
Typically. Yeah. I think there's a couple of classes, you know, here in Vancouver that you have to pay to get in because I think that they just have so many people coming in.
The ones with the waiting list? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think most of the teachers and classes and studios in Vancouver are very open for you to come and audit, and I think it's a wise thing to do. My personal opinion is if you can't audit the class, maybe not so much.
Maybe you shouldn't be going to it. How much of this book is sort of coming from a place of you going back and thinking about, you know, your career and how you got to where you are and maybe some of the hurdles you had to overcome? I
have to be honest, if this book, you know, not to toot my own horn, but if this book was around, honestly, when I started, I think that it would have taken about 5 years. And I started right away, but I think it would have taken about 5 years.
And I was saying that to you today because I get people asking me all the time, and having all those answers in one place is so key, especially the language, because, you know, you have to know what things are. You have to know what people are talking about. Otherwise, you're just going to be lost and you won't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
So what point should people spend money on getting the headshot? Do they do that before they get an agent? Should they?
I think, well, the second step that I was going to talk about is getting the agent. So that's the other thing I focus on is the correct letter to write an agent. It's not like trying to get a job.
It's a very common question.
Absolutely. It's not like, you know, your resume doesn't look like the same thing if you were going to go, you know, try to get a job at X store. You know, it's not like that. It's a totally different resume. So you need to know how to do that and then how to approach an agent correctly. And then from there, I think once you get to the point where you want to approach an agent, you have to have a headshot.
Yeah.
I really think it shows to professionalism. And I will address headshots on there. You don't want your cousin Bernie taking headshots from me.
Not cousin Bernie.
Unless cousin Bernie is a professional photographer, and then have at
it. Even then, some professional photographers will take a headshot and it won't look like a headshot.
Oh, interesting.
And you can tell the difference. So I was just
looking at certain criteria in an actor's headshot that have to be there.
Absolutely.
Well, and this goes, you know, all the way from the basics, and I think that's part of the great thing about it, you know, just that idea of location. You know, if you want to do this for a business, if you want to do this for a life, you have to go somewhere where that's possible. You can't
read this, didn't you?
I did. Well, you can't sit in a small town somewhere and go, I want to be an actor someday.
Well, you certainly can, but I think you have to realize that your industry is going to be some commercials that come through town, definitely theater, local things. But if you, and I do address that, if you are serious, you need to be in an area like Toronto or Vancouver is great because we're so close to Los Angeles. Even though we flux up and down, it's always going to be busy.
There's lots of opportunity.
Lots of opportunity.
Okay, so you get the headshot. you've got the agent, you're good to go, and then you get that first audition. And you cover a lot about that in here because it is so key to be professional, even if it is your first audition, to know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
What do you have some interesting advice on your nerves and what people should do with their nerves, because one thing that people don't understand is that it's totally normal to be nervous in that situation, but your first time you might not know what to do with it.
Exactly.
So how do you recommend dealing with nerves?
Well, I think that there's a couple things. Some people don't have them. Let's just address that. Some people don't have nerves, and that's great.
Was really
Not so much.
That's why you're not acting.
Oh, okay. That's
not so much.
Could be an impediment.
Nerves, a lot of it's up here. A lot of it is what you're thinking, and I always try to make a joke out of it. Really, if you fumble a line or if you make a mistake, what's the outcome really? Is somebody out there with a machete ready to kill you? No, so maybe just
let's hope not.
Yeah, let's hope not. So maybe lighten up a little bit, but I think there's things you can do. I think that when you focus on it's really changing your mentality. When you focus on different things, if you focus on the character, if you focus on what the character's going through and what they're thinking, your brain can only hold so much thought at the same time, so you tend to get away from the nerves. If you allow yourself to sit in the waiting room before you go in and get yourself all worked up, you're going to be a mess when you go in there. So a lot of it is taking control of the way you think and the way you approach. There's other things too. I mean, really, it's shifting your attitude towards and lightening up. It's supposed to be fun.
Well, but understanding the process too. So you're not worried about, how early do I get there? What do I have to bring when I go? So you don't have to think about all those details, because you walk into that room, and if you don't know what to expect when you are going there,
you're gonna die.
You are gonna. You are. Okay, we are speaking from a place of experience because we've
standing
done
on
this
the table,
before.
the dancing bear, right?
And it's horrible. I mean,
so pick up the book is the answer, but we wanted to quickly talk about some of the work that you've been doing, because there are great acting opportunities here. There are great shows being shot here, including one called The Fringe. What did you do on this show?
Fringe. I had a guest star on Fringe. It was wonderful. I have to tell you, when you get these roles where you have just gut-wrenching emotional things going on. I mean, my son was dying, and I was doing illegal things to keep him alive, but it was gut-wrenching. At the end, there's not a scene that they didn't air it, but I'm sure it'll be on the disc set. And it was gut-wrenching. I'm basically zipping him up into the bubble at the end in a bubble room. I know, and it was wonderful to reach into that depth of emotion and just tap yourself. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
It was wonderful.
I'm just like, I'd be so sad.
It was sad. I mean, people were crying, and it was very.
But it is a fantastic show.
The show's amazing. It was really a blessing to do it.
Well, Ingrid, thank you so much. If you want to pick up this book, if you want to get into this business, or if you've just started out, all the answers are actually in one place. How fantastic is that? You can go to Biz Books. It's located on West Cordova in Vancouver if you want to check it out.
And the launch is on Thursday.
Oh, nice.
Yes, the launch is on Thursday between 6 and 8 at Biz Books.
Excellent stuff.
Everyone's
welcome. Go down there and pick it up. And the more you know about the business, the more you can concentrate on the business of being a great actor instead of worrying about all the other things.
Mike, do you think this will help us get our break?
Do you remember when we went and we auditioned to be talk show hosts?
Yeah, and we were told we didn't look like talk show hosts.
And we showed up there and we were the only people. I was the only guy without a suit.
We're going to take a break, and when we return, we have a brand new iPad that we get to play with right after this. Don't go away.
Be right back.
Yeah, it was...